always got your mind on the green.
I got into debt in college. And
do you have a box of videotape?
King Charles, Wednesday at 10 on CNN. Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We only represent.
It's time to get back in the office. That's what White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients is telling federal workers, according to Axios. The report says Zients is convinced the federal government is more efficient when employees are in the office at least half the time. Now, we looked it up, and the numbers are all over the place when it comes to productivity working from home. The numbers that are clear show that employees are not in the office as much as they used to be. Before COVID, about a quarter of employed Americans work from home. That number obviously spiked in 2020, but about a third of us are still WFH. Kristen, you run a business. Is it time for workers to go back to work, meaning back to the office?
This is a very tough one for entrepreneurs, business leaders, because on the one hand, I do believe people are more productive when they're in the office. I think there's something that you lose when everybody is just engaging with one another on Zoom, on Slack. I think there is benefit to in-person collaboration. But at the same time, I want to attract young talent who have come of age in an era where working from home in your pajamas is the norm. And so in order to convince them to come back to the office, and at my company, we say, okay, Mondays and Wednesdays, we've all got to come in together. You've got to give them a reason to be there. It can't just be, you have to sit at a desk because that's just how it's done.
So what's the reason?
I think the reason is you get to come in, see your colleagues, have meetings and discussions that would be more awkward and uncomfortable over Zoom. We try to do trainings, let's bring in lunch. Let's try to make it a little bit fun so that enduring the commute has some kind of a purpose.
Lulu, where are you on WFH?
Well, I WFH, so I'm clearly in favor of WFH. But I will also say that in this country, we get so few benefits. There is no paid family leave. There is just absolutely nothing for the working stiff in this country. And, you know, while we're still talking about working from home, of course, this is about white collar workers primarily, but it is something that allows you some flexibility. I'm a parent. I can't tell you that for the first time when the pandemic happened, the only silver lining was, oh my goodness, I have some flexibility now to go pick up my kid. I have some flexibility now to go and do some things during the day. It really made my life a lot better. And so I don't think we're going to want to give this up.
Well, how do bosses feel about people working from home beyond the very
benevolent?
Benevolent. That was the word I was searching for. I knew it was a B word. Kristen Soldis Anderson. I want to put up some numbers about how they feel about it. A survey of 500 executives last year found 62% say in-office time is somewhat or very important in who gets a promotion. Another study found remote workers were 38% less likely to receive bonuses than colleagues in the office. So, Ryan, I want to look at this not from the boss's point of view, but the workers. Are young workers who insist on staying at home, are they wrecking their career?
I think they're absolutely missing out, but there's actually a bigger issue here, which is that if you can do the job from your home in the burbs, in the exurbs, that job can also be done from the Philippines or from Ukraine or from Bangladesh or South Africa or wherever else. This is what people don't understand. There's something unique about certain jobs that are in person. There's a collaboration, there's a training, there's a cohesion that you get, which is why when immigrants move from one country to a higher productivity country, they actually are paid higher wages. There's something really there. But if you're saying, I'm going to commoditize myself, I'm just going to be a bunch of lines typed into some machine, into the ether, then guess what? That can be done by anyone. One thing that's happening right now is a lot of startups are saying we're going to be remote first. Even if that means that we're crappier, even if that means we're less productive, because you don't want to give that money away in the form of office rent if you don't have to. But those companies are companies that are more explicit. They have things written down. They're not companies that are generating soft skills. And those are companies that themselves could get commoditized. So that's what people have to think about.
I'm enjoying this visit to the 1950s, everybody, but it's over. Work from home is here to stay, and it's not going away. I think what you're talking about is intentional meetings, which a lot of people are innovating on, whether you come in on a certain day, you have certain things, or you bring people in. But this has happened. This is over. It's like Amazon delivery. It's like all these things. It's done.
But you don't think there, and now I'm talking,
Yeah.
as I'm asking
By
you
the
the
way, all
question,
those people
I'm
in the
talking to
survey-
my kids.
Right.
Is there a career cost to working from home and not being either in the boss's vision or maybe necessarily in his mind?
This has to be done by bosses. I've been doing work from home with my employees for 20 years now. We always did that. But if they wanted to see me, they had to come see me. And that was the very difference. I wouldn't do calls on the phone, or we would do these intentional kind of things. The way technology is going, and you can do work from anywhere. And that's very exciting because now suddenly investments, there's a new thing about the unicorns 10 years ago. The woman who coined the phrase was talking about this. Now there's more investments in St. Louis, in Austin, in Detroit, wherever it happens to be. It is so important for innovation across this country to understand work from home
I'm sorry,
changes
but
everything.
offshoring wasn't a thing
Yes,
in the
but that
1950s.
means we can
And
also-
services offshoring, this is going to be a massive,
It's already
massive.
been that.
But
Why not?
guess what?
That's where do you
We're
think they
entering,
develop
Kara, we're
everything?
entering a new phase, and this is something that workers need to understand. You're going to have to be a heck of a lot more competitive. And by the way, if you're working remotely from a lower cost place, expect to get paid less as
Which
well.
they already do, which
Yeah,
is already
and
not
that's
expected.
gonna-
It
that's
happens
gonna
at all the time.
intensify and deepen, and people need to adjust to it.
I mean, you're talking about this from like these very serious kind of, costs for the company and productivity.
Well, and for workers and for their
but
wages.
but this is about also people. People, have things that they want to do.
Absolutely.
They have demands on their time. They don't want to commute. They don't want to spend hours in their car. Americans spend more time commuting than any other country. They spend more hours working than any other country almost. And so this actually offers flexibility. And I really am with Kara on this. It allows for innovation in other parts of the
So
country.
I totally hear you that there is a human side to the benefit, but there is also a human side to the cost. Set aside the productivity and the bosses and all of that. I think it's sad for people who are 22, 23 to not have a culture of getting to know their colleagues in the same way that they did when they did have to come to that very first job and show up at 9 a.m. and all of that. I do think that's also.
I also think that there's a benefit to having the meeting and then you walk out in the hall. I mean, there's so many things that happen.
Oh. I really like churning butter, but we're not doing that anymore.
I'd love to see the offshoring of a lot of these government jobs. Let's do it.
Oh,
It doesn't matter where you work. Chances are you've talked about our next story with colleagues, the Barbie snub.